It's easy to think Michael Jordan and the late Kobe Bryant when it comes to 50-point game. Y'all don't think about though is how guys like Andre Miller, Corey Brewer, and TJ Warren pull off the half-century mark. To score at least 50 points in an NBA game is no mean feat, and it takes a special set of circumstances to pull it off. Whether those circumstances be a superstar putting a team on his back, a player stepping up to the plate after the team he's on has a number of key players on the sideline, or just the fact that a player's shots are falling from everywhere on that special night, 50-point performance in the NBA is something to behold with high regard. However, there are a few 50-plus point games in the NBA history that have came out of the left field never to be repeated again. Now, these are the most shocking 50-point games in NBA history. Mo Williams had several chances at hitting 50 points on several occasions. 44 on February 11, 2009 and 43 on January 27, 2009. But it wouldn't be until 6 years later that he would finally break the mark when he dropped 52 points on the Pacers on January 13, 2015. That mark stood as a franchise record until current Wolves star Karl Anthony Towns scored 56 in 2018. If I told you someone scored 50 points in an NBA game last night, you would probably guess 100 or so names incorrectly before finally giving up. And when I informed you it was Mo Williams, you would likely walk away shaking your head in utter disbelief, said Dan Cahill of the Chicago Sun-Times. Mo Williams scored 52 points on 19 of 33 shooting, including 6 threes that led the Timberwolves with a 110-101 victory over Indiana. Prior to that scoring explosion, Williams' career scoring average that season was just 13.3. Before that game, his average that season was 11. To top it all off, he was already 32 years old. That level of a random scoring outburst from a 6'1" veteran in the twilight of his career was simply mind-boggling. And it feels even less likely when you consider the Pacers had the 7th best defense of that season. Williams went on a mid-range spree against the Indiana defense. 6 of his buckets came from 3, while another one came at the rim. The other 12 were all over the range between the paint and the three-point line, and plenty of jumpers were contested. You are just in a zone. You don't really see anybody. You just go back to the places when you're in the gym by yourself with your own trainer. You're just shooting shots, and it doesn't matter where the defense is at, said Williams of that game. Vernon Maxwell, 51 points. Two-time champion with Hakeem the Dream, there had been several instances where Vernon Maxwell came close to the 50-point mark. But unlike Williams, he actually got there pretty early in his career. Maxwell dropped 51 against the Cavs on January 26, 1991. And that's not even the wildest part. The most incredible part of that performance was the fact that 30 of those points came in the fourth quarter. The man known as Mad Max went 14 of 25 from the field, but the biggest reason he eclipsed for 50 was all the trips he made to the line. He went 19 of 22 from the line, showing the relentlessness of which he attacked the rim at that night and pretty much his entire career. He's the most competitive player I've ever coached. If I was a foxhole, I'd rather have him at my back than anybody, said Maxwell's former coach, Don Chaney. Caris LeVert, 51 points. Before March 3rd, 2020, Caris LeVert's career high was 37, but on that night, he scored 37 in the fourth quarter and overtime alone. That 50 was beautiful, Vert. Thank you for that masterpiece, tweeted LeVert's injured teammate KD about his performance. Earlier in the 2019-2020 season, point guard Kyrie Irving believed that the team needed a new talent to take them to the next level. LeVert's performance suggests that Kyrie does not have to look very far. LeVert is showing that he has that upside star potential in a vacuum. The range of outcomes changes everything for a Nets organization that finds itself brushing up against an uncertain future despite signing 2 superstars over the summer, wrote Dan Favale for Bleacher Report. Performances like this won't become the norm, but LeVert is just 25 and still has another year or two of development. 50-point game could become, at the very least, a little less surprising. Andre Miller, 52 points. Ask most NBA fans what they remember about this guy, and chances are you'll get answers involving his slow pace and general old school feel to the game. Most likely, no one will ever mention the fact that he dropped 52 points one time. On January 30th, 2010, that's exactly what Miller did, as he went unthinkable 22 of 31 from the field against the Mavericks that night. Before the outburst, Miller's previous career high for shots made in a game was 15. And the 22 he dropped against Dallas proved to be the benchmark for an entire NBA that season, as well as a franchise record for the Portland Trailblazers. Before Dame time, of course. I just wanted to stay aggressive. I didn't look at it as scoring the ball, but just going out and making plays and being the point guard. The shots came, and since they were going in, I kept shooting, said Miller after the game. While the slow-footed guard peppered in a few makes from the short mid-range, the bulk of his damage during the performance was done inside. He went a ridiculous 11 of 15 at the rim. It's much like the older guy at your pickup game, slowly but surely making his way to the bucket and hitting a variety of finishes over, under, and around bigger defenders. Brandon Jennings, 55 points. Early in his much hyped up matchup against another highly touted rookie, Steph Curry, back in November 2009, Brandon Jennings missed his first 3 shots and was promptly benched for the rest of the first quarter. But instead of dropping his head, Jennings bounced back and dropped an incredible 55 points instead. He scored all of his points across the final 3 quarters, and 29 of them came in an awe-inspiring third quarter shooting spree. We forgot to mention that was just his 7th NBA game. Jennings' 55-point night was powered by some absolutely dead-eye 3-point shooting, with the young buck hitting 7 of his 8 attempts from beyond the arc. Safe to say that Curry's 14 points looked a little vanilla compared to the scorching hot Jennings at that time. Yet, in years to come, Curry would become a back-to-back MVP winner, and Jennings would just be out of the league before his 30th birthday. Terrence Ross, 51 points. Random 50-point surges from unexpected players may become a bit more ordinary in today's 3-point heavy game. Terrence Ross dropping 51 against the Clippers on January 25th, 2014 is a compelling example of that. The man averaged 6.4 points as a rookie in 2012-13. His average heading into the 51-point game was a mere 9.3, and then suddenly he connected for 10 threes in one game, tied for the season high that season. After the game, ESPN Stats and Info tweeted, "Terrence Ross is the first player in NBA history with a 50-point game who is averaging less than 10 points per game." The points quickly pile up when 3-pointers are hitting from the bottom of the net, and that was the clear driving force behind Ross's career high. He was en fuego that night, drilling one shot after another, usually chucking them up after catching the ball. For a second-year player, it was an enticing glimpse into a future that never really materialized. Ross still has some time for a later career breakout, but his current career high points per game is 15.1, which came in 2018-2019 season. Tracy Murray, 50 points. And I know, you like, who this? Before the 97-98 season, Tracy Murray averaged 9.4 points. The most shots he connected in a game was just 15. The most free throws he hit was 8. But on February 10th, 1998, he topped both of those marks by tallying 50 points on 18 of 29 shooting against the Golden State Warriors. In achieving that feat, he admitted to having released a demon that long haunted him. 9 years earlier, Murray had an unforgettable high school performance, but it came in a loss. Scored 64 points and lost the game. I ask myself all the time, how do you score 64 and lose? Haunts me to this day. That's what makes this so sweet. We won, said Murray in an article on the Washington Post. That was 9 years ago, and a lot of people kept reminding me when I came out to warm up. People were asking me if I was going to score 64 again, and I told them I'm not built for 64. This is the NBA. Never thought I'd come out and even score 50, Murray added. Tony Delk, 53 points. And I know you're like, huh? But exactly. On December 23rd, 2000, Tony Delk scored 26 points against the Nuggets. It tied a career high he set 2 years earlier. Just a week later, on January 2nd, 2001, he went 20 of 27 from the field on the way on firing in an eye-popping 53 points. He never topped 30 again, and 20 shots he made almost doubled any other performance from his career. Delk, who scored 31 points after halftime and spent almost the entire game of a shooter's groove, reached his previous career high early in the third quarter and never cooled down. His shooting accuracy was all the more unbelievable because nearly all of his shots were jumpers, and he also made 13 of 15 free throws, said a report in the LA Times. What makes that even more impressive was the fact that Delk didn't hit a single three in that game, making him one of 34 players in three-point era to score 50 points without a single shot from behind the arc. As you might suspect, most of the rest of that list is made up of big men. Delk stands just 6'1". Corey Brewer, 51 points. Corey Brewer had played 6 seasons in the league before he returned to the Minnesota Timberwolves for the 2013-14 season. His career average was 9.5 points on 41.6% shooting. His career 3-point percentage was a mediocre 29.8. Then on April 11, 2014, he had an out-of-body experience on the way of 51 points on 19 of 30 shooting from the field and 11 of 15 shooting from the line. Prior to that game, Brewer's career high for points, field goals, and free throws were 29, 12, and 10 respectively. Brewer's scoring explosion surprised everyone in the league, including superstar LeBron James, who had this to say about it. Brewer has been a serviceable role player to that point in his career, but the bulk of his minutes were earned on defense with his length, athleticism, and versatility, making him a functional weapon on that end. That night, those attributes were deployed to greater effect on offense than they had been in any other game in his career. Brewer was like a one-man in-game layup line, especially in fast break situations. The 16 shots he made within 5 feet of the hoop gave him the season high for a single game that season. Corey would never approach that level of scoring again. His scoring average over his next 5 and final seasons was 6.9. Now that does it. Subscribe if you're new. I appreciate the view, and as always, thank you for watching.